Okay. Welcome back to the Three Stooges podcast. We got high school football this week. The Sac Joaquin section is as good as it gets on the entire West Coast. Joe Davidson, longtime with Sacramento Bee, Chris Jackson with West Coast Preps, Jordan Georgeson of Gold Country Media. We've got rankings galore. All three of our sites have team rankings. We got a lot of player rankings. We're all wearing cleats right now. People aren't seeing that, but we have football cleats on. We have blocking sleds in the backyard. I'm sure. We're molding our mouthpieces so we could wear those, and we're not doing that now because we need to be legible. But guys, good to be there. Let's good to be with you. Let's just jump on, and we're going to break down some of the top teams as the games start this week. We're going to touch on Sacramento State. Saw them scrimmage the other day. Will the Sacramento State Hornets be playing UC Davis next season in the Causeway Classic that's been around since 1954? And also news this weekend out of Sacramento State. Will Hornet Stadium be long term or is it going to be at Cal Expo? We'll dive into all of that. UC Davis as well. Going to start quarterback Caden Pinnock out of Del Oro High School, the Golden Eagles of Bloomington, the alma mater of Jordan Georgeson. But before we dig in, there's always something going on. And we have Turlock Bulldogs, a power out of the 209, playing at Rocklin in Placer County in a season opener. And Jordan, can you just break down what's going on? Is Coach Jason Adams going to coach? Is there sanctions? What are the sanctions? What are the punishment? We're hearing all these kind of things, but you've been on it. You're all over this kind of stuff, but it's right there in the heart of your coverage area. But what's going on with Rocklin and for this opener on Friday?
Yeah, so Jason Adams is going to be coaching in this game, which I was a little surprised with at first because if, those of you that don't remember, last week we talked about the sanctions that both these programs got dealt from the section. I know with Rocklin, theirs was no hosting the playoffs for the next 2 years, restricted limited periods, probation for the next 5 years, and their corrective action plan, which was documentation, a 1 game suspension for the head coach during the season, and then no AAU workouts involving incoming eighth graders. Now, the wording of that second part, the 1 game suspension for the head coach during the football season, is the important thing because the suspension will actually be served against Lincoln of Stockton, which I believe is Rockland's third game. I know that part of the appeal is, Rocklin and the section kind of settled on this punishment. Now, I don't understand necessarily how the Turlock game got, overruled of the suspension, but I know that the second game of the year, he is not serving the suspension because Rocklin's crossing state lines to go play Bishop Minogue. When you're crossing state lines and what I'm guessing is going to be an overnight trip, or either way, just crossing state lines in general, that's something you want your head coach there for. So, totally understand that. But I mean, that's big because I mean, we're all talking privately about this with our little group chat. Adams is a guy that he could be the difference between winning and losing that game for Rockland. And, Turlock is coming out with their own sanctions as well. I believe they're not eligible for postseason or to host postseason play for the next 2 years. They had a couple extra dead periods, 2 years of probation, then self-imposed sanctions. Now I haven't gotten to see what those self-imposed sanctions are, but I do believe, Chris, you could probably elaborate more. I think that has some suspensions dealt with as well. But either way, I mean, two big programs, and I know these sanctions are kind of clouds over the programs right now, but make no mistake, I mean, these are both probably top 10 teams in the section, and this game is going to be a big one and kind of a doozy of a Friday night slate we have, our opening weekend slate. I mean, this might be the best slate we've had in the last couple of years for opening weekend.
Yeah,
That's something, no doubt. Chris, if you could continue that thought too.
yeah. I mean, it's loaded in the area, and this game is right up there among the best ones you want to see. In our poll, we've got Turlock at 6 and Rocklin at 7. That just came out earlier today, and the winner is going to get the better spot because you could go in and say that both teams are even. And now that Rocklin's got its head coach to coach a game with a younger roster, moving in a lot of new starters. Sure, yes, Reeve Sloan is back. You've got experienced guys coming back on the outside, Josiah Andrews, that stuff. You're still breaking in new linemen, that stuff. To have your head coach week one against a Turlock team with a lot of experience, it's quarterback coming back as well as huge. Now, if you like good quarterbacks, that's a game you want to see. Scout Silva, the sophomore at Turlock, threw for over 2,000 yards as a freshman. Reeve Sloan, Nevada commit out of Rocklin, going to be a third-year varsity starter. You've probably seen his name everywhere, that family name throughout the years. He's the next in line from one of the best families, but that Casa Roble Placer in Orangeville, that's going to be standing room only type game, and those teams are pretty neck and neck when it comes to preseason rankings. That Folsom at Grant, ESPN showdown on Saturday, Sonora, Oakdale. There are great games, you could say, in every sector of this section. This might be one of the better week ones I think I've seen in recent years.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. And back to Jason Adams, the coach. Um, he's been there a long time. School opened in 1992. He was a longtime defensive coordinator under Greg Benzel. 2009, he had a great moment when the Grant Pacers were the defending CIF State Open Division champs. They're playing in a section semifinal at Folsom, a neutral site. And Jason Adams, the defensive coordinator, had a goal line stand for the ages, stopped the Grant Pacers on to win that game, and then he becomes the head coach a few years later. That's a team that has been in three section finals, I think, in 5 years. Won one of them, lost a crusher last year to the Grant Pacers in the final seconds when Zoe Edwards just had an all-time great catch where he maneuvered around the guy and caught it for the winning touchdown. So there's a lot of motivation there. And one thing I appreciate about Rocklin is a lot of two-sport guys, Josiah Andrews and Connor Bowe and Reeve Sloan. I remember Reeve Sloan in his sophomore year, he came off the bench to hit a game-winning shot in a Sierra Foothill League game. And I remember chit-chatting with him afterwards. I said, "Is this why you play two sports?" He goes, "Absolutely, that's why you do it." And we've talked about this on this podcast and off the air. Um, if you consider all levels of athletics, high school, college, pros, at the high school level is when the coach really matters. And Jordan touched on that. You got to have a coach, especially with a young team, even a veteran team. There's so much stability, and the players look up to their head coach, and uh, especially in winning programs. And a lot of times, outside of their father at home, this is their dominant male role model figure. And for some schools across the country, unfortunately, there is no father figure. So it's interesting that these suspensions come up, and these are rules and guidelines voted on by the member schools of the section. And do they seem harsh? Yes, I suppose so. But how else are you going to enforce it? And we have a message here today, the three of us. I think we're united on this. When the high school games start for real, these aren't intra squad and scrimmages anymore. This is the real deal. If players or coaches get ejected for unsportsmanlike behavior, it's no longer a one-game suspension, which was the norm for years. It's now minimum of 3 games, and it could be as many as six or more. And those are next to impossible to appeal. It's an effort to try to crack down on some of this. And so, yes, we know football is emotional, spirited. Guys lose their heads sometimes, but you gotta hold on to your hats. And so we don't want to report on suspensions, and it could be a crusher for a kid, could be damaging for a team. You got to be cool. Got to be cool. What I would recommend to players, and I've said this for years, is the team captains should go introduce themselves to the referees and say, if you see any problems with any of our guys, somebody talking too much or just not playing football the right way, would you please let me know as a captain as well? Referees appreciate it. Too many players and coaches are convinced that the referees are out to get them. And we laugh about this off the air when we all tweet each other that you can go to any game, the Folsom Bulldogs, and you hear fans yelling, the CIF and the referees are out to screw us. No, they're not. CIF hates kids. No, you don't think that Oak Ridge across the way and the other side of the stadium isn't thinking the same thing? It's wasted energy. Focus on what you can control. And so keep it cool, appreciate what you have. I always like to tell people, hey, if you think you're getting a raw deal, go to the Shriners Hospital and go talk to some of those kids who would do anything to be able to get out of a wheelchair and run and catch a football. And so perspective is important. It's hard to to be a starter or a player in high school football. And so appreciate what you have. I think a lot of people do, but there's a lot of immaturity too. And another warning, I think you guys would agree, is keep it clean and cool on social media. People are watching. Potential recruiters are watching, rival schools are watching, watchdogs from other leagues, and you are representing your school, you're representing your town, you're representing your family. So don't act like you're too immature to be on social media. We've seen it over the years where some schools get shut down, the sports team or a football program for just bad behavior. So don't violate that code of conduct and just good, simple sportsmanship. I feel better. I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air.
I mean, I
That's
don't
how I feel.
think I don't think there's anything better to add. You got to focus on what you can control. It's just like in life. Yet you can't get mad at others if they didn't do anything to you. You got to focus on yourself. That's all you
Yeah,
can control.
and
Sometimes,
you know, it's okay.
sometimes life
Sure.
doesn't go your way, but that's just the way it is. That's how you learn from it and get better. A ref's going to make a bad call. Like, guarantee you they will sometimes. There's going to be bad calls this weekend.
Well,
But
and the
that
thing
we're
is,
human, and 99% of the time, they're not in it to screw you.
that's
They're out
exactly
to
right.
ruin your game. It's also week one for them. I saw people complaining about refs at scrimmages. Don't forget, scrimmages for these refs, for teams are also scrimmages for these refs to get back in a rhythm. They're scrimmages for us too. We're trying to get back into a rhythm of coverage and everything else. Like the same goes for refs. The same goes for players, coaches, everybody else. Focus.
Yeah, I agree. We got let's work backwards. So our big monster game on Saturday is the Folsom Bulldogs visiting the Grant Pacers, and I think by any measure, the two best teams in this Sac-Joaquin section are Folsom, four-time defending Division I section champ, Grant, three-time defending NorCal champion, different divisions, and ESPN will be there. Oh wow, wow, but I hope that ESPN doesn't bring its tired, boorish, controlling act like it did in 2010 when these teams played at Folsom, and the ESPN people wanted to control and regulate who can cover the game, who was allowed on the sideline. They initially wanted to put all the media pretty much under the grandstands. And I went down there and said that's not going to work and no video allowed. And they finally yielded that media could be allowed from the end zone to the 20. Uh, and I had a seat in the press box. It was there, from hours earlier, and they wouldn't let me back in. And somebody railed on me, and then the superintendent and principal helped me get back in there. It's like this is overreach. Don't, it's not. The coaches back then didn't want to do it again. So hopefully it's a little bit more tame. It's a fantastic opportunity to be seen nationally, and to see what Sacramento football is all about. And so I just fingers crossed on that. We were hearing the other day, and Chris, you helped solve this, that there was speculation that ESPN was going to mandate some kind of credential policy through them. No. You don't have that kind of say. ESPN is not going to tell any of us local media that we can't go to Grant. Fortunately, that wasn't true. My goodness, we're all just trying to do a job and cover these teams, and it's nice to have an ESPN game, but that does come with headaches. In 2010, the scores of players were pulled out of class during the week of that game to talk, to interviewers, for some stuff that could be prepared and dropped in for segments. And I reported on that in 2010 when those teams played on ESPN, and ESPN called angrily and demanded a retraction or a correction. Well, why is that? I said, well, we don't do that. And I said, well, so the principals and the coaches and the student athletes and the athletic directors all made this up. Well, you made us look bad. No, you made yourself look bad. And hopefully it's a little bit easier and smoother. It's been 15 years. It's we're all on the same side. So we'll see how that goes. I'm
And
all fired up today. I
I,
mean, the season's starting on. I'm just all bent
I
out of shape.
I love it. And I think, the important thing that people forget in this, not, with social media, with ESPN, with all this, they're still high school kids at the end of the day. It's still high school football. And if the ESPN cameras weren't here, Folsom and Grant would still be playing. The local media would cover it the same way we do. We're not going to these games to, get, expose the kids or, try to put ourselves up on a pedestal and use them as a launch pad or anything like that. the people that are going to cover the game are going to cover the game, whether the cameras are there or not. And at the end of the day, yeah, like I said, people forget these kids are 16, 17 years old. Zoe Edwards might have his driver's test the morning of this game, and Ryder Lyons could have a math quiz. I mean, yes, they're household names in terms of the people that follow this sport in the area and even nationally with some of these kids, but at the end of the day, the word kids is the one that matters most. They're still 16, 17. They're still worried to ask their girlfriends to homecoming, and, they still have chores to do at home. They're still kids. And I think that's one thing that people forget about this sometimes.
No, it's well said. And let's have a little fun here. So we got Folsom Grant. Chris Jackson has had this in some of his West Coast preps previews. Folsom has, I think, 18 or 19 guys with Division One scholarships. They're so loaded that some of those offers or Division One scholarship offers are for junior varsity players. That some of their linemen, well, how are they not on varsity? They don't have enough room on varsity, so they're going to get their season start on the JV. They'll certainly be up at some point this season. And I think Grant has 14 Division One. And it's important to remind people that offers don't mean anything. The only thing that really matters is the signed contract, the binding letter of intent on signing day. But it gets guys on the radar and who's there. But if you look at these two teams loaded in the trenches, Grant has to break in a new quarterback. Grant has two fantastic receivers. Zoe Edwards, all 6'6" of them, and Kobe Shabazz, he's a verbal commitment to Sacramento State. All those linemen. Ryder Lyons, the five-star quarterback recruit going to BYU, one of the great quarterbacks we've ever seen around here with this whole season to go. I'm going to pick Folsom to win this game. I think Ryder Lyons is a difference maker. The Pacers will chase after him. They're going to do everything they can to rattle him. Saw Ryder the other night in a scrimmage. He's down to 220. He looked fantastic. He looked faster. It'll be interesting to see how Grant does with its new quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Folsom Bulldogs in that opener. Chris Jackson, who do you got?
I'm picking Folsom as well. I just like Ryder Lyons as a senior in this game. Picking against Grant, though, is not the smartest thing probably in the world. We've seen so many times where you pick against them. I think many of us picked against them in 2023, that NorCal championship game against Rocklin, and they came out and put on a licking. Wayshawn Parker, it felt like you ran like Tavon Austin out there with the high steps every single freaking play. But I like Folsom in this game. I think it's going to be a close game for a long time. There's so much talent on this field. Who commits the fewest mistakes is going to win this ball game too. Grant's breaking a new starting quarterback. They really like what they have. Sharon Crump is now a junior. He's been in the program for the first 2 years anyway. We've seen him get varsity snaps. He's got a Sacramento State offer. There's another commit in the program, the Folsom transfer, Blake Nycom, who is fantastic as well. When you've got guys like Zoe Edwards, Kobe Shabazz aligned with Roger Vanderhoof, you've got Ronnie Noah, Lucio Dominguez, Isaiah Stevens, size, force, physicality. Folsom's got that too. But the experience of Ryder Lyons, I think, just makes enough of a difference here to where Folsom probably wins a thriller on ESPN to start this year.
Well, and Grant loves when people pick against him. And I think they love that too. I think Folsom would appreciate that too. Jordan, who do you like in this opener?
I'm kind of with you guys. Chris, I know you say it's not smart to pick against Grant, and I've been burned picking against Grant a couple times. I rarely do pick against him, but I think what it comes down to is Grant lost a Division One caliber edge rusher, and they are breaking in a new quarterback, whereas Folsom is bringing back probably some of his most dangerous weapons with, Ryder Lyons, Jameson Powell, and the trenches are just good as ever. If this game's being played in December, I think there's a world that Grant wins this game. I think there's a world that Grant could, prove that they're the top dog in Sacramento in the next couple years. But right now, I just think Folsom's got the returning pieces, and I'm going to give that experience because opening night of the season, we always see a couple weird results. A couple years ago, Rocklin got beat by Turlock on opening night, and a Rocklin team we thought was loaded and was going to beat that game up. So I just think that when you get weird results on opening night, I'm going to go with the team that's a little more experienced. It's been there and done that, and knows what to expect. Has a lot of 3-year starters, 2-year starters, stuff like that. So I'll take the Bulldogs in it, but I'm with you guys. I think this can be a close game, and don't be surprised if Grant flexes its muscles a little bit too and shows that hey, we're coming.
Now, Grant, if and when you win this game on Saturday, come up to us and have some fun. Let me.
Clip
That's
this, please.
exactly right.
I want
I
that'd be
would love,
awesome.
yeah. I will hand up, admit, and I will eat crow when I'm wrong because I always tell people we pick 10 games a week in our picks. And guess what? I think I've gone 10-0 in a week, maybe 3 times in the last 4 years. So I'm wrong all the time. So let me know. We're
Yeah, we
wrong a
could
lot.
roll with it. And sometimes people take it too serious. It's just projections. We're not picking 48 nothing games. And sometimes I joke that said, people take it so serious, maybe we ought to just pick a tie. There are no losers in this game. They're all champions, blah, 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 blah. And no, that's outstanding. Before we talk about other teams and other rankings and players, let's circle back to Sacramento State. Saw them scrimmage the other night. 73 new players through the transfer portal. Who's going to be the quarterback? Probably going to be Jaden Rashada. He has not looked sharp in some of these scrimmages. The pressure's on him. He invites the pressure. This is his chance. He started at Arizona State, his career there, bounced over to Georgia. The Bulldogs did not play there. He's from Pittsburgh of Contra Costa County. And so a lot of pressure there. They have fantastic running backs. They have three starting offensive linemen back. Defense looks fast and active, but could start off 0-2 this season. First year coach Brendan Marion, his team opens at FCS ranked number 3 South Dakota State, won the national championship in 2022 and 2023, and then play at Nevada in Reno. So that'll be interesting. And other talk about will Sacramento State and UC Davis play in the Causeway next season, a longtime rivalry. The Causeway Classic started in 1954. It doesn't look like it's going to happen next season, which I think is just unforgivable. It's unfortunate. How did this happen? Well, Sacramento State wants to go independent, which means no conference. It's their effort to try to move up in classification to the FBS level. But this is a series that has to resume. There's no room because UC Davis has its 3 non-conference games already locked in. And you can't break those contracts. Well, you can, but it costs you a fortune. Example, USC had a scheduled game, I think this season or last season, with UC Davis and broke the contract a couple of years ago and had to buy it out for some $800,000. Well, UC Davis doesn't have that kind of money to be breaking contracts and all that. So we'll see what happens there. Also, will Sacramento State target its future home stadium at Cal Expo, with Cal Expo no longer having horse racing and Cal Expo losing its main tenant after this year? FC Republic, the soccer program, press conference today as we speak on the rail yards as that gets going there with the groundbreaking there. So I don't like an off-campus facility for college football. We see it in other places across the country: San Diego State, UNLV, USC, Oregon State, Miami Hurricanes. But the reason this is interesting is it's good business to talk business. And the Cal Expo folks are the ones that reached out to Sacramento State uppers, including President Luke Wood. And both of those are state entities. So that's where the money would come from. And if you could save $300 million and not having to build a new stadium, you look into that. So that's going to be real curious because Sacramento State's a real curiosity team, one of the big storylines for the FCS this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I understand the draw of, the off-campus stadium in terms of, Cal Expo has a lot of ground where you can maybe build a bigger stadium or build something to add on to. But I am with you where, Chris, you can adhere to this too because your favorite team's biggest rival plays in an off-campus stadium, and one of my favorite team's biggest rivals does the same. There's just no personality, I feel like, at some of these off-campus stadiums, and you lose some of that student atmosphere. And if you think of the best environments in college football, I I think every single one of them is an on-campus stadium, and it would be. I understand the draw, but it would also be something where I think we'd all rather see this stadium built on campus.
There's more character on campus. You've seen it with Pitt not playing on campus too. Attendance is down unless they're hosting the backyard brawl or hosting a huge game against Clemson. The attendance isn't there. Being a West Virginia guy, yeah, you don't want your rival to necessarily do well, but I'd rather see Pitt playing in an on-campus stadium. That's a better atmosphere. That's better for everybody. That's better television. That's better entertainment. You get more fans. Your students are more engaged. It's better all around. It's hurt Miami in a lot of ways too with attendance, those types of schools. Look at UCLA, how far they play off campus. What's that? In LA traffic, how long does that take to get to the Rose Bowl? a disaster, and that their attendance is down there as well. So it's much better when you play on campus.
No doubt, no doubt. Across the causeway at UC Davis, the Aggies are coming off their best season at the FCS level. They've been at that level since 2004 after decades of good living in Division Two. Looks like Caden Pennick's going to be the quarterback. We know that name because he was a standout at Del Oro, a three-sport guy. He was so impressive in the spring in spring ball. So we'll see what happens there. And the Aggies have a big opener on Saturday, also on ESPN. It's a 4 p.m. local start. They're in the FCS kickoff classic in Alabama, taking on Mercer of Georgia. So Coach Tim Plow and the Aggies get right off the bat. I know I'll see you guys at a Aggie game at some point because Caden Pennick's going to be fun to watch. The entire offensive line returns for UC Davis, so that's always a building block. And football's everywhere. We all agree that when Sac State and UC Davis are both really good, it's good for the area. It's great that local players are playing at these programs. There's a misguided perception that people think that Sac State and UC Davis, oh, how good would these programs be if they only recruited Sacramento? Well, why should they only recruit Sacramento? They're going to recruit the whole state. They're gonna talk to people across the country. There's no hometown discounts. Now, given that, Derek Houston out of Rocklin High School is a team captain, linebacker for Sacramento State. We just mentioned Caden Pennick. So you're going to get some local guys. Sac State did have Ryder Lyons on campus for a recruiting visit. He put a uniform on and did all that stuff, but we all kind of knew he was probably going to go to BYU. So, no, these teams are going to recruit the whole state. Why wouldn't you? So that's interesting there. But let's get right back to high school football. Jordan, I'm going to throw back to you. Drop 3 or 4 players of note. Maybe a lineman from Placer, maybe somebody. I think there's a big lineman at Rocklin. We appreciate the lineman. It always starts with blocking and tackling, and then I'll bounce over to you, um, Chris, if you could drop some names too. So we'll just drop names every week on this podcast, guys to look for, the big dudes, the stoppers, the runners, the receivers.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Placer. I think Gage Estes one up there. Brother is at Oregon State right now. Dad played in the NFL and CFL for a little bit. Other brother played at College of Idaho, which is a powerhouse up in the NAIA. Football's a tradition in that family, and Gage Estes looks the part. I mean, we see it all the time with these D1 caliber linemen. It's always funny because you see these guys that have the D1 build, but they still got the baby face. And Gage Estes fits that profile, but I'll tell you this, he probably didn't get some of the shine he deserved to get last year because Placer's offensive line was just solid, and they had Justice Alba and Ivan De Silva and Connor Atkinson mixing in on the D line. He's going to be a two-way menace for the Hillman this year, paving the way. Anytime you have a D1 caliber guy that you're running behind with a wing T offense, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Another one, Dom Coelho out of Rocklin, San Diego State commit, only had 28 tackles last year, and 8 tackles for loss. But I want to say like 11 of his tackles and 6 of his tackles for loss were in the playoffs. So limited production. San Diego State liked what they saw and offered him. And then a couple other guys I think are going to be worth keeping an eye on this year. Connor Frontiera over at 12 Bridges, he was backup quarterback last year. I think he's 6'5", something like that. He's going to be scary. Looks like a seasoned vet in there. I know Chris Bean loves to, rely on his senior signal callers, and Frontiera looks like he could be the best that they've had there yet. So that's one more guy I want to give a shout out to. And then how about one of the best two-way guys that, in my opinion, could be one of the best players in the section without a D1 offer yet is how about Carson Floyd over at Whitney? He's a Division I caliber safety, and in my opinion, he could prove himself to be a D1 caliber quarterback this year too. Good build, very athletic, great arm. And what I love about him, we talk about these guys that are playing all these different sports. Floyd is starting quarterback, starting safety, which you don't often see Iron Men in the SFL anymore. He's starter on the basketball team, and when he's not starting, he's definitely the sixth man. And he's expect to be a pretty big factor on the baseball team this year as well. So, 3-sport guy, and I mean, he Division I caliber dude, just great athlete, nice kid, and a kid that's going to be fun to watch. So those are, I guess, my guys I'll give the shout out to this week.
I'm gonna go
Jackson.
with the scrimmage I was just out on Friday at Roseville High School. Their running back, DeMarcus Gresham. That kid felt like beast mode at the high school level. I lost track of how many tackles he broke, how many guys he ran over. His arms look like this. His lower body is super strong. He's an 800-yard rusher last year. He's going to go well over 1,000 this year. They've got a great backfield too. Colton Wolf's a great baseball player on their section championship team. Cole Takahashi's a great rugby guy there too. That backfield alone at Roseville, led by DeMarcus Gresham, is one you've got to look at. Another team in that scrimmage, Wheatland. This guy's going to take the top off of defenses every single game. Braden Zosiah, he got his first Division two offer a couple of weeks ago when I was at the practice. It felt like he made every catch. He just always finds a way to get open. He's fast. He's got great hands. And at the scrimmage, the scary part is they had so many other guys make a catch. He didn't have to do everything. So that shows you how deep this Wheatland team is. And a guy like Braden Zosiah, that's going to make this team maybe be a back-to-back PVL champion. And then let's go to the southern part of the section. West Burford, the standout Oakdale running back, linebacker, you name it. 2,600 rushing yards last year, over 90 tackles. An Air Force commit, a three-star prospect. That he's also a state wrestling qualifier, a track star. He is one of those guys that just embodies toughness, hard work, and success across every level for the Oakdale Mustangs. And then who they play? Sonora, who's got its top seven rushers coming back, including its top rusher, the fullback Tommy Sutton, 1,500 rushing yards last year for a team that won state. He's strong. He's going to run you over. He is smart, decisive, a big play kind of guy, and just super consistent. If Sonora is going to make another run, having a guy like him, he's a big deal. And I'm going to go outside of this too, outside of just players. I just saw this announcement. Our great friend Nick Picarero just announced on his Twitter. It's with a heavy heart that I give you this update, but we will not be bringing Premier Preps back for 25, 26. We gave it our best shot, but sustainability just wasn't there. Thanks for allowing me to be a small part of your high school experience, all the support and memories, Nick. That's one last guy we should give a major shout out to this. He's not a player, but what he did for the area, his passion, his hard work, his attitude, everything else. It's the region will definitely miss his coverage and what Premier Preps did for all these different student athletes.
I love Nick Pecoraro, and he's doing a story this week for us at the Sacramento Bee on flag football and all the players and how it continues to rise. He's a terrific journalist. He's versatile. I spoke to Nick about this. We had some adult beverages last week, and it's frustrating. The Sacramento Bee, we had some 20 years ago, the Sacramento Bee High School Sports Show, the LA Times High School Sports Show, and Miami Herald High School Sports Show, and that went about 2 years. And you think, oh, well, we got all the backing, we got sponsors, not enough, and it's tough sledding. And we appreciate all the readers and subscribers, and I know you do too, Chris Jackson and Jordan. And we're not here without readership and viewership, and so Nick will still be in the game. This doesn't mean he's pulling the plug forever, but he gave it his best shot. I feel for him. It is frustrating, and we applaud Nick. All right, some more players of note. We talked about the Placer Hillman. They got a big showdown on Friday at Casa Roble. Running back Sean Jones, third year varsity guy, physical, tough. It fits right in for the Hillman. Aiden Lopez is a returning quarterback for Casa Roble, and Chris Horner. He's a year wiser and better. He's poised to have a monstrous season. Roseville Tigers, Mason Susnara is a third year guy. JJ Arrest Young is a receiver of note for the Roseville Tigers. So it's just so many good players. How about Troy Bounds? We've talked about him a lot. He's a four-star recruit out of Sutter High School, Division Five. How can they have recruits there? Because they play good football and they feed them well. So they're big kids, and so there's guys all over the place. The Vacaville Bulldogs in Solano County have Brendan Jackson back at quarterback. Jaden Jackson's a third-year starting quarterback for West Park. A fourth-year starting quarterback for Christian Brothers is Deacon Holden. Larry Morla has always liked his leadership. He's the coach there, and when he was a freshman, he was so small and slight that his mother had to sew his game pants, re-sew them so they wouldn't just sag. and that kid took some shots, but he's back, and they have a great opener against 12 Bridges. And 12 Bridges, you talk about some good players. How about Colton Hogue? I think I'm pronouncing it right. He's a big time lineman, looks the part, and so there you go. So we have guys everywhere. Del Oro. We talked about this last week. Jordan did a nice profile on their tight ends, including Landon Perry. Someday he'll have a beard like his dad, but right now he's just trucking guys. So we got football players, whether they're small school, medium, large, um, and I think it's great. And we've touched on this topic too. Was Sacramento football talent going to get watered down with all the growth and all the new schools? No, it made it stronger, made it deeper, and it continues right down into the southern part of the state. Chris Jackson touched on that. Sonora was a state champion last year, and just really good. Let's try. Let's take a look at another game. Whitney Wildcats with Carson Floyd taking on Jaden Jackson and the West Park Panthers. Um, that's a terrific game. Let's just bolt through these so we don't take too much time. I'm going to go with the home team. I think the veteran quarterback there and Jason Tenner, the longtime coach, the only coach they've had. They've been there for 5 years. He said it's the strongest team he's had in the weight room, biggest numbers, and he's got 12 on-campus coaches. He knows he's got it good. There's so many schools. They're just trying to get one on-campus coach there. Whitney West Park, what do you say, Jordan?
I'm going to go West Park here. Last year was a low scoring game. I think it was 10-7 in overtime. I think both quarterbacks are too good for that this year. But yeah, I'm going to go West Park. I think that one's going to be a throwaway, though.
I'll go West Park as well, especially Jason Tenner saying this is his strongest team yet. He's had some strong teams in the weight room. If this is the strongest, those are some scary words. So West Park, after all these semifinals trips, gets off to a great start to hopefully make that championship push they want.
How about that? All right, here's another good big game of note. The Placer Hillman at Casa Roble in Orangevale, backed by the Orangevalians, as Coach Chris Horner likes to go. I'm going to go with I always have a motto, and it doesn't always work, but when a game is really close on paper, go with the home team. And so I'm going to go with the Casa Roble Rams there, Aiden Lopez and gang with a chance to avenge last season's tough loss in Auburn to the Hillman. So I'll go with the Rams there. Jordan?
Can I pick the fans for the winner? Because I think this is going to be one of the best games. Joe, I'm going to kind of go the opposite of you. I know the home teams won this every year, the home and home, since they started playing in 2021. But I just have this hunch Placer's got it this year. I think they set the tone with this one, so I'll pick them.
This is an even matchup in every sense. I'm going to go Placer in this one. They're going to go back to back in this matchup. This is going to be really close. I think high scoring. Placer's going to run the ball really well. Cass is going to be able to throw the ball really well with Aiden Lopez, but I like some of the experience Placer has. The run game is going to be strong. The line play is going to be awesome. And I like Placer in a shootout in this one. I think 42-38.
There you go. And games in Orangevale are an event. It's festive, it's fun, it's loud, everybody's involved. So that's really cool. Another big one with two Division One teams, um, Intercom Tigers with first year coach Justin Reber, the former offensive coordinator, playing at Monterey Trail in the Oak Grove Unified. TJ Ewing's the only coach that the Mustangs have had since the school opened in 2004. Same thing. I'm going to go with the home team here. They got that tricky veer offense. It's hard to go against, though. Intercom beat them in the playoffs a couple of years ago, but I'll go with the Tigers here. What about you, Jordan?
I'm going to kind of go the opposite of you again on this one, Joe. We talked about
Yeah.
the importance of the coaching and Intercom breaking in a new head coach. I think I'm going to give the nod to Trail in this one.
I'm going to go Intercom in this matchup. It's going to be a close one, though, too. Monterey Trail is going to be able to run the ball well, but Intercom's fast, explosive. They got athletes on the outside. They've got some young talent you've really got to look at, too. Guys like Preston Pitts. You've got Raymond Conrad's a D1 prospect. A lot of these guys. I think Intercom gets a close one here.
Intercom has to find a new quarterback after Ricky Cole graduated. We'll find out. They always find a way. That's a sleeping giant program. They've lost to Folsom in the Division One playoffs. The Tigers haven't each of the past 2 years, so a lot to play for. Um, We're going to do an eight-man game for our last pick here. The Valley Christian of Academy of Roseville taking on the Delta Saints in Clarksburg on the Sacramento River. Eight-man football is not traditional 11-man football. You still have five guys on the line of scrimmage, three linemen, two receivers, three guys in the backfield. This is saving high school football for some of these programs with small enrollment numbers. Delta has played football down there for decades and decades. They've had NFL guys over the decades. Tony Eason, Bo Eason played at UC Davis, third round draft pick in the 1980s. And Tony Eason was part of that first round draft pick hall of quarterbacks in 1983. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, um, just John Elway. They don't play anymore, certainly, but it just shows that they've had great talent there. I'm going to go with the home Saints here, and kudos to eight-man football, and kudos to the Sacramento Kings section and Assistant Commissioner Jason Feuerbach for helping get this going. And they're going to crown a section champion for eight-man football. We will have at the end of this section playoffs at Hugh Stadium on Sacramento City College campus, eight divisions, four games on a Friday, four games on a Saturday. Division one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and eight. That's on Thanksgiving weekend, including eight man because football matters.
Yeah, I think I'm with you here, Joe. I'm going with the Delta Saints. If you look at their last couple seasons, they've been consistent. 7 wins, 9 wins, 7 wins, 7 wins. So program that has been solid for years. I think they're going to have a lot of fun in eight-man football. It's been a good 11-man program, and the numbers just didn't make sense to keep running 11-man. Give me Delta. I think they're going to be one of the better eight-man teams out here.
I completely agree. They've had explosive offenses every year. A little less guys in the field, a little more open space there. I like Delta here. They're going to be one
I
of
think
those
it's
top eight-man teams, I think. For as long as this thing's around, they're going to be one of those top teams.
That's excellent. All right, I'm going to wheel off the Sacramento Bee top five, seven teams. And Jordan, you're doing weekly rankings for Gold Country Media, which covers not all the teams, but the teams in your coverage zone. And then Chris, you could finish off. But I think we're all in agreement that the Folsom Bulldogs are number one ranked. Just so much experience and talent back, well coached. The Grant Pacers at number two, number three, Oak Ridge Trojans of the Sierra Foothill League, a rival of Folsom up in El Dorado Hills. Casey Taylor, the coach. Rocklin Thunder, also of the Sierra Foothill League. Granite Bay, also of the Sierra Foothill League. 12 Bridges coming off a 14-1 season. No regular season losses in a couple of years. Jesuit, Monterey Trail, Intercom, Destiny Christian Academy, the former Capital Christian. Destiny Christian, this is their offensive line. They got a guy who's 6'4", 315, 6'5", 325, 6'7", 320, 6'5", 270, and 6'3", 300. Those guys don't miss meals. They look the part. So there's a lot of bulk there. Placer, Casserole right on down the line. Jordan, how's it shape up for your coverage zone?
For ours, so like you said, we're ranking the Placer County teams and then a couple of the outskirt ones, like the Folsoms and Bear Rivers and whatnot. So you won't see the Sacramento schools in there, but we've got Folsom, Oak Ridge, Rocklin is our top three. 12 Bridges at four, Granite Bay's five. And then this little group, I had a tough time ranking them. Placer, Roseville, and West Park are 6, 7, and 8. I think you could make an argument for any of them to be 6, 7, or 8. R9 is Wood Creek. They looked really good in that scrimmage against 12 Bridges. They really opened my eyes there. And then Del Oro is the number 10. I don't think this is a group that's going to be down for long. And from watching their scrimmage and from what I heard about their scrimmage down at Central Catholic, they certainly have not looked like a 2-8 team so far this summer. So we'll see if only time will tell if they live up to that ranking. And then we have a few on the bubble. Whitney, Vista Del Lago, and Lincoln are all teams that I think could be breaking into the ranking soon.
And Chris Jackson, you do a whole Sac Joaquin section breakdown. Who you got?
I'll list the top seven. So Folsom and Grant are the top two. At number three is Oak Ridge. Three straight D1 championship appearances. I like what they've got. The Womax, Isaac Pierce. You got a Washington State edge rusher commit. Manteca is number four. They're always at least in the section semis. They've got, I mean, if you look at this, four straight seasons of 8+ wins, section crowns in 21-22, nine since 2000. They've got a 1,500-yard rusher who's a third-year varsity guy. Love what they've got. St. Mary's at five. They've got some athletes. Kenneth Moore, UCLA commit. Turlock at six. Rocklin at seven. And those two are going to duke it out this weekend. And so are the top two teams, right? So some teams might be doing a little shuffling in case seven beats six or in case number two beats number one.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We will be doing this every week. We invite people to tune in, pass the word, send us a note, tell us what more you want to hear about, any kind of topics or issues, transfers, realignment, what's fair, what's unfair. why it's hard to get scholarships. I think we'll talk about that next week. Why we talk about all these guys with Division I commits and why it's hard to get on the recruiting radar, how big you really have to be. Do you have to be at a power pack program, state rate program? No, you don't, but a lot of people think otherwise. So we'll talk about all that next week. We'll also preview more games, more top players, and we'll recap what happened over the weekend and the opening week. And hopefully we don't have any injuries to have to report, but we're going to try to peel back the layers on everything that's going on. If there's boorish bad behavior and we see it or we hear about it, we report about it, we will talk about it, and all those kind of things. So we enjoy doing this. We're all in it for the same reasons. I think people like to go to games. We appreciate the high school level and the efforts, and it's great to see that the season is back, and we know that these stadiums will be full with the marching band and the cheer squads and the drum lines. It's an event. It's a great value for the dollar. Joe Davidson, Chris Jackson, Jordan Georgeson, thanks for joining us. We will see you guys all next week.